Rebels, the Bruins from UCLA. USC once again strong on both sides, especially for the women, and the women led by Angela Williams, the two-time NCAA champion in the 100 meters. Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Watson along with Dwight Stones. Welcome to the new building on campus at USC, Catherine B. Locher Stadium. It holds 3,000, and they expect it to be brimmed out today. It's SC and it's UCLA. This guy's a veteran of the Trojan Wars. Of course, he used to kill him Crosstown at Westwood. Why is this one special?
Well, I got to tell you, it's not only 68 years, but it's just the best track and field rivalry in the country. Much like the football game is also extremely good, but in track, there's no question that this is the best. On both the men's and women's side, both teams very, very deep. Angela Williams, of course, is already becoming a legend. Just a junior at USC, won the NCAA championships in the 100 meters twice, the Pac-10 twice. She just won a silver medal at the World Indoor Championships in the 60 meters, and had she not gotten sick, probably would have represented the United States in Sydney last year. If she's not running on the track, she'll be rooting her fellow teammates on. Men's side, very, very deep. Coach Ron Allis said, I know my best years were the last 2 years to win this thing, but I still think we got something up our sleeve.
Now, USC actually is the two-time defending champions here in the Pac-10, but UCLA seems to have USC's number on the women's side. Well, the Bruins have beaten the Trojans 8 years running. It's even more dramatic on the men's side. 22 years since USC has beaten UCLA. And how has UCLA done it? Well, the way they've always done it the last 2 decades with the power events, the throwing events inside the curve.
In fact, Coach Art Venegas was the throwing coach at UCLA forever and ever. On the men's side, great depth, no terrific standout stars that are going to make world championship teams, but very, very solid in all the events, both on the track and on the field. Of course, USC on the men's side, always great sprinting. Coach Ron Allis seems to be able to get those guys to come here off the football team out of spring practice. They've just been out for a couple of weeks, but on their own campus, on their own track, they're going to be tough to beat.
The track history between SC and UCLA dates back to the mid-1930s. For more on the lineage of the Bruins and the Trojans on the track, we go to our third member, John Jackson.
Thanks, Jim. Well, when you talk about crosstown rivalries, USC-UCLA says it all. It gets no better. But how about the history between these two schools? For the women's, 17 years, a very short history, but the Bruins have won the 14 out of those 17 meetings and the last 8 in a row. On the men's side, historic. This series has gone on since 1934, with the USC men reeling off 33 wins in a row to start the series. It looked like UCLA was never going to be in it, but they have won the last 22 meetings. They've been unbeatable, unmatchable, unstoppable. And I had a chance to talk to one of the USC Trojan athletes before the meet and ask him, how big is this meet? What does it mean to you? And he said, is it life or death? He said, it's more than that. Back to you, Jim.
SC and UCLA, it's always special, 68th edition, but it's a new beginning. It's Catherine B. Locher Stadium, and they are expecting a packed house today. It's the Trojans and the Bruins collegiate track on Fox Sports Net. We come back to downtown Los Angeles on a sizzling afternoon.
Diamonds, the gift that lasts forever. The Jewelry Exchange in Tustin imports all their diamonds direct. They carry thousands of diamonds, most GIA or EGL certified, and all the guaranteed lowest prices. 1-carat solitaires start at $5.99. The Jewelry Exchange makes all their jewelry in their state-of-the-art factory and has hundreds of rings, pendants, earrings, and bracelets. Only the Jewelry Exchange in Tustin guarantees all their jewelry to a price for at least double, that's right, double the purchase price. Buy factory direct and save. The Jewelry Exchange in Tustin.
Mr. and Mrs. Pfeffercorn? Hey, it's me, Steve, the kid from next door. Sorry about the rhododendrons. Anywho, Jeff here needs a computer.
Hi, Mom.
Now, Mr. Pfeffercorn, here's the deal. You can get our friend Jeff a complete Dell system with an Intel Pentium 3 processor for only...
Ta-da!
Tell them what they get, Jeff.
We get speakers, a monitor, a keyboard, a mouse.
Very good, Jeff. And you guys don't have to make any payments for 90 days. And Mrs. Pfefferbeam?
That's Pfeffercorn, actually.
Whatever. Dell has award-winning service and support.
Perhaps that's why it's America's favorite PC.
Perhaps.
Get this great Dell computer with an Intel Pentium 3 processor for just $7.99. We'll include 1 year of DellNet by MSN Internet Access. And right now, well-qualified customers don't have to make any payments for 90 days.
Ready? Mr. and Mrs. Bennett, it's me, Steve.
Kids.
It's a very good chance that I might go to the NBA.
3 lives.
Just a matter of doing the right things.
1 dream.
Basketball is my job.
Prep Chicago Hoops, weekdays at 5 on Fox Sports Net. Southern California Sports Tonight, covering your hometown sports scene like no one else, with exclusive interviews, in-depth analysis, and stories that take you inside the game. Southern California Sports Tonight, weeknights at 6:30, presented by Verizon.
Welcome back inside the new stadium on campus, Catherine B. Locher Stadium on campus at USC, and look at it, it is filled today. The 68th edition of SC and UCLA, the Bruins and the Trojans in dual meet. This is the way the scoring will break down. We score first through third, 5, 3, and 1, except in the relays, of course, since it's a dual meet, 5 points for first and nothing for finishing second. Jim Watson along with Dwight Stones. John Jackson is working the infield for us. And now, since it's a brand new stadium, of course, you need dedication, and they did that just moments ago. Everybody came to their feet. The SC band was here, along with the song leaders, of course. And right at the start-finish line, Ron Ellis, the USC head coach, cutting the ribbon to officially open the Catherine B. Locher Stadium. It is officially open. It's SC and UCLA. We are set to start, and we start you with a good one. We will start with a 4x1 on the women's side. And, well, when you talk about the best relay teams in the country, you have to start with the USC quartet. What an amazing bunch this is. Angela Williams will lead things off. Natasha Neal is running second, Malika Edmondson, and then Kinsasha Davis. Normally, Candace Young would be part of this foursome, but Natasha Neal will run the second leg today. This is the same group that won the national championship a year ago. Stopping time in 43:14. We've already run an NCAA qualifying mark this year of 43:75. For UCLA, Sonny Roseby, the freshman, will lead off. Shakita Jones, then hand to Michelle Perry, and Sheena Johnson, a freshman, running the anchor leg for the Bruins.
Jim, this will really set the tone to a large degree for things early. There's about a 15 to 20 point spread on the predictions on how this race or how this meet will come down to points-wise, and every 2 or 3 points here and there can make a big difference. USC on paper should dominate here, #1 time in the country as well as the conference, but UCLA has a #5 time in the nation.
Watch Angela Williams for USC, bottom left. Perhaps the best starter in the world, and runs the corner very well. That's why she starts. Angela Williams against Sonny Roseby of UCLA. Roseby is a freshman. Williams is a junior. Williams hands to Natasha Neal. Shakita Jones for UCLA on the second leg.
And Sonny Roseby gave up nothing really to Angela Williams. And UCLA in a good shape with Shakita Jones to Michelle Perry.
Michelle Perry on the corner for the Bruins, and stride for stride, Malika Edmondson, the senior. UCLA with a slight advantage, 2 meters as they come off the corner. Perry will hand to Sheena Johnson, the freshman for UCLA. Can she hold the lead? A little bobble there on the handoff. Kinsasha Davis trying to run her down. Davis goes past Johnson. Kinsasha Davis hits the tape first, and SC wins the 4x1.
Unofficial time 43:71, which would be their best time of the year. But what an impressive final leg for Kinsasha Davis. And as I mentioned, Angela Williams really did not make up much ground on Sonny Roseby, the freshman of UCLA, and it was pretty even coming into the last handoff at UCLA with a little bit of an advantage. As we see Davis just walking it off after that victory. Very important. That was 5 points that they were expecting to win in this 4x1 relay.
Dwight, I was concerned with UCLA because they're running the freshman on the anchor, and when she got the baton, she still had about a full meter lead. But of course, Kinsasha Davis, one of the fastest sprinters in the country, and that's a tough lead to hold for anybody, especially if it's your first year at this level.
Not only that, the experience that Davis has at the NCAA Pac-10 level. This dual meet, of course, most important meet for both of these teams. Both coaches tell these athletes this is the most important first meet of the year. The season really begins here. Up to this point, they've been getting NCAA qualifying standards and trying to get themselves in position for Pac-10 qualifiers as well, but the season really begins with this dual meet.
USC wins it in 43.7, UCLA 44-19. USC wins the women's 4x1. On now to the men's 4x100, and that guy right there, Stephen Hayes, will be starting things off for UCLA. UCLA running in lane 4. Stephen Hayes will hand to Warren Rogers, and Mike Lipscomb, the transfer from Mount Sac, and Brian Harrison, the senior from Dana Point, will run the anchor leg for USC. It's Miguel Fletcher leading things off. Devin Ward, the junior, who has really run his way onto this team. Daryl Rideau, the sophomore, and running the anchor leg for the first time this year, Sutan McCullough. Sutan McCullough is blurry fast. UCLA will have to have an almost perfect race to beat USC.
And Jimmy, they're starting with 2 freshmen in the first 2 legs as well. And we saw a freshman hold her own in that women's 4x1 against Angela Williams, the 2-time NCAA 100-meter champion. And as you mentioned, maybe not a better starter in the world than Angela Williams. And the freshman held her own. But here, Miguel Fletcher against the freshman Stephen Hayes. And that will set the tone this first turn. USC with the #1 time in the conference in this event and the #7 time in the nation. They're provisionally qualified for the NCAAs. UCLA, the #2 time in the conference. They also have a provisional qualifier, 39.20. Pretty stiff qualifying for this race.
Miguel Fletcher is a football player, so is Rideau, and so is McCullough for USC. Kareem Kelly normally runs the anchor for SC. He is out with a hamstring. Stephen Hayes for UCLA, Miguel Fletcher for SC, and Fletcher out quick.
Fletcher definitely putting a little bit of a lead as they go to the second pass. Warren Rogers, another freshman for UCLA against Devon Ward.
And Devon Ward ran a great second leg against LSU in a meet here earlier, and all of a sudden everybody started saying, who is this guy Ward? Ward hands to Daryl Rideau. Rideau runs great corners, and look at USC.
Well, there's something you never see. UCLA not making the baton pass of the 4x100 relay. Now McCullough can just coast. He's just been out from spring football a couple of weeks. This is a situation where he really would have preferred not to be pressed. So this is great for him for running the 100 and the 200 later in the meet.
Running unopposed and taking his foot off the gas in the last 10 meters. Sultan McCullough and USC win easily. I didn't see what happened to the Bruins on the corner.
I saw it. Mike Lipscomb simply took off too quickly from the freshman Warren Rogers. Rogers may have looked to him like he was going real fast. But in real life, look at the gap that Lipscomb has. And Rogers then stops, which is something that you never do in relay. You just hope that you get the stick before the end of the zone. And it was smooth sailing from USC from there on. All they had to do was make the pass in the zone, and McCullough got a little bit of a breather there. He didn't have to run that last 100 meters hard. That will help him in the 200. As you recall, last year in the 200, this meet pulled a hamstring.
USC breezing to a win in 39.98. You have to wonder how fast it would have been if McCullough would have been pressed down the last 60 meters. SC wins it, both on the women's side and the men's side. So the Trojans win the 4x1 on both sides of things. We'll take a break. We'll come back and we'll start to stretch it out a little bit. SC and UCLA for the 68th time.
Mr. and Mrs. Pfeffercorn, hey, it's me, Steve, the kid from next door. Sorry about the rhododendrons. Anywho, Jeff here needs a computer.
Hi, Mom.
Now, Mr. Pfeffercorn, here's the deal. You can get our friend Jeff a complete Dell system with an Intel Pentium 3 processor for only...
Ta-da!
Tell them what they get, Jeff.
We get speakers, a monitor, a keyboard, a mouse.
Very good, Jeff. And you guys don't have to make any payments for 90 days. And Mrs. Pfefferbeam?
That's Pfeffercorn, actually.
Whatever. Dell has award-winning service and support.
Perhaps that's why it's America's favorite PC.
Perhaps.
Get this great Dell computer with an Intel Pentium 3 processor for just $7.99. We'll include 1 year of DellNet by MSN Internet Access. And right now, well-qualified customers don't have to make any payments for 90 days.
Ready? Mr. and Mrs. Bennett, it's me, Steve.
Every night around the dinner table, I learn about the challenges we face in our classrooms. You see, my wife, Karina, teaches 6th grade. Like so many other teachers, it's her caring and dedication that make her such a great teacher. I promised her, as I promise you, that as mayor, I'll make education my top priority. I'll audit LA Unified, build 100 new schools to end overcrowding, and increase parental involvement. With hard work, we can make our schools measure up to our kids.
It's vacation time. Time to get away from the crowds. An RV vacation for all of you, or just the 2 of you. An RV vacation for the whole family, or just the 2 of you. And guess what? It's a vacation you can rent. Call El Monte RV right now and get 2 free Coleman sleeping bags along with a dream vacation for the whole family, or just the 2 of you. Call 1-800-337-2157 today.
You're watching Fox Sports Net.
Welcome back on campus at USC on Fox Sports Net. It's SC and UCLA, and track. It's Jim Watson, Dwight Stones, and John Jackson is working the infield for us. And you can imagine anytime SC and UCLA get together in any sport, especially track and field, bring out a lot of big names, including some former Olympians who are still around this dual meet.
Thanks, Jim. I'm down with head coach Jeanette Bolden. And Jeanette, your team has been so dominant in this series. Do you approach this series just as another series, or is it a true rivalry for you?
Oh, it's definitely a true rivalry. It was when I was at UCLA, and it still is as coach. And we get up for this meet.
Right now, it should be competitive today in both the men's and the women's side. On both sides, what do you think are the key events that UCLA must come up with to be victorious today?
We just can't make any mistakes. We have to do the things that we normally are accustomed to doing, getting our front line points and making sure we pick up the second and thirds when we can.
Well, Coach, good luck. 6 consecutive Pac-10 titles for Jeanette Bolden. Back to you, Jim.
Jeanette Bolden, of course, won a gold medal in 1984 in the LA Games as part of the 4x100 American team. She is 57-0 in dual meets as a head coach at UCLA in 10 years. Earlier today in the women's 3,000, pick it up early in this race, and a little bit of a surprise.
I'll say this is a race where the UCLA Bruins were expecting to go 1-2, giving them 8 points, and USC supposed to sneak in there for a third and get 1 point. But that's not at all the way this race developed, as senior Lucina Legai of Poland took off about halfway through the race and just stretched out the lead, waving to the crowd. You can see nobody in sight, 100 meters ahead of her closest pursuer. And the upset, Legai wins it in 10:03:28, but more importantly gets the 5 points for the women of Troy. And her teammate, Barbara Alvarez, sneaks in for third, so they get 6 points to 3 instead of 8 points to 1 against them. A big, big switch.
Moving on now to the women's 1,500, and of course USC's had some great names from the past. Anna Wolpaciu, of course, who has graduated. And we'll set the hip numbers for you. Elaine Canchola, UCLA, the sophomore from Ojai. Lucina Legai is back here, so she'll try to double up after the 3,000. Jessica Marr, UCLA, the sophomore from Hayward. Alexander Darren, junior from USC. Melissa McBain, late entry here for UCLA. And Lena Nilsson, the sophomore from UCLA. That is the field for the women's 1,500. USC has been strong in middle distance in past years, but are they in a rebuilding phase now because of graduation?
Well, I have to tell you, they've been strong in middle distances lately because Coach Alice and Coach Edmondson have recruited Eastern European runners, and that is never a bad thing because those women tend to have a lot more experience than U.S. runners as they're competing all over the European continent in junior meets and just simply have a lot more experience running in packs, knowing how to develop their strategy at a very young age. So that it's always an insertion of that experience, sort of veteran runners when they're just in their late teens, early 20s. And SC has quite the tradition now, suddenly with Wolpaciu, Langerholtz, obviously, and now Lucina Legai, who really came up big in this 3,000. It'll be interesting to see how she doubles back, however, in this 1,500.
Yeah, she shortens up here, but really she hasn't had that much time off, and she's going to meet a whole group of fresh runners right here. That's a tough double on a day like this because it's warm.
It's really warm. This is not ideal middle distance and distance running. Certainly it's great sprinting and jumping weather, but it's up to the Lady Bruins to take as much sting out of her as they possibly can. They really should have pushed her as best they could in that 3,000, knowing she was doubling back, and try to make it so she could not be a factor in this 1,500.
Yeah, and you can see Melissa McBain and Elaine Canchola of UCLA have gone right out to that front. Bruins actually running first, second, and third right now as it looks like they have Legai surrounded.
And that's what they do need to do, Jim. They've got to do a little bit of team running, somewhat like the Kenyans do in international meets, where they will box the athlete who they think is the biggest threat and let the most elder of the Kenyans, the most experienced, go ahead and win the race. That happens even at the World Championship and Olympic Games level oftentimes, and that's what you've got to do here in the dual meet. They already have suffered some upsets early in the meet. They don't want the momentum to get so much to the women of Troy that they can't stifle it. So they're going to try and do a sweep here as best they can, but they're going to try and keep the guy from sneaking in and being a factor. Now she moves up into third as the pack is starting to stretch out a bit.
Canchola continues to show the way. Canchola, the first quarter, 69.50. And Canchola was a great runner in high school, and she was always a front runner. She always liked to control the race from the front.
That's been a tradition in this country. Remember, for many, many years, Mary Decker-Slaney only being able to run effectively from the front. Whenever she got into a pack, she had problems. The best known problems, of course, are tripping and falling in the infield at the 1984 games, just a couple of blocks from here. Probably the most memorable thing in her career, unfortunately, even though she was a two-time World Championship gold medalist. But Lagai, very smart, keeping herself out of trouble. The pack stretching out is always best because the athletes, when they run close together, people can get spiked, people go down. You never want to see that as the season's just really beginning for all these athletes, with the conference week just a couple of weeks away and the NCAAs the first weekend in June.
Canchola and Lena Nilsson, the sophomore for UCLA. Both sophomores actually right out front. You can see that Lagai, the first time they came around, Dwight, she was on the inside. She felt a little boxed in, a little claustrophobic, and as you mentioned, she has moved herself out away from that trouble. Now Canchola peels off and leaves Nielsen out front by herself. A couple of Trojans right in tow.
And UCLA, certainly the sweep is out of the question as the UCLA runners have dropped. It's now a 4-woman race.
They went through 800 in 2:23, but Canchola showed that pace and then stepped off the track. It's still Nielsen. Nielsen with Alexandra Darren, the junior from USC, right behind.
And this is the third lap. This is where you really have to push the pace. You've got to make the people who are going to rely on their kicks spend their kicks staying in contact.
We go to the bell lap. Nielsen trying to hold off Alexandra Darren, but Darren moving right up on the shoulder now as they go into the corner.
And just to illustrate this Women of Troy tradition that has been established by Coach Ron Alice, Alexandra Darren also from Poland, so the two SC runners both from Poland, and now the battle is joined with 300 meters to go. It's going to be anybody's guess how this happens, who has the most strength coming down this last 300 meters.
Alexandra Darren for USC and Lena Nilsson for UCLA. Nelson through 1,200 meters in 3:32.
And this would be an upset. Nilsson with the number 4 time in the conference and provisionally qualified for the NCAA, but just being a freshman and not having the international experience that a Darren would have from Poland. Alexandra Darren now taking it to her, and she knows what she has to do. She's got to go by decisively, definitively, open up the gap, and kill any chance that Nilsson has of thinking she can come back and win. Another very smartly run race by the women of Troy, and now the race for third place also shaping up interestingly.
Darren is going to win this one easily. She blew past with 200 meters to go. Lena Nilsson will hold on, and here comes Lagai. Lagai, who won the 3,000, comes back to get SC a point. Outrunning Jessica Marr to the tape. SC goes first and third, so the women of Troy out to a good start today. It all happened with 200 meters.
That just shows that experience, that strength of running that longer distance. And here you will see Alexandra Darren of Poland. You can't just go by a little bit. You've got to go by with authority. You've got to create a gap immediately and demoralize the athlete that you have just passed. And she does so. Look at the gap that was opened up in just a matter of 50 meters. Nilsson happy to hang on for second, but the battle really developed between Lagai in the back and Jessica Marr, and Lucina Lagai wins the 3,000, gets third in the 1,500s. Those third place finishes very, very important when the meet is as close as this one is shaping up to be.
Alexandra Darren, the junior from USC, wins it in 4:20.84. Nilsson was second, 4:25.95, and Lagai picks up that very important single point for third place. Now, Lagai has done a good job already, collecting 6 points for the women of Troy, the top-ranked women's team in the nation. Plenty more to come.
You probably wouldn't know it by looking at me now, but I used to have a hair loss problem.
Whether you're just starting to thin or experiencing advanced hair loss, Hair Club has an option that's right for you. Call 1-800-HAIR-CLUB now for this free booklet.
So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and make the call, because after all, you can't hit a home run if you don't get up to bat.
If you'd like to get more hair, call 1-800-HAIR-CLUB today.
Mr. and Mrs. Pfeffercorn? Hey, it's me, Steve, the kid from next door. Sorry about the rhododendrons. Anywho, Jeff here needs a computer.
Hi, Mom.
Now, Mr. Pfeffercorn, here's the deal. You can get our friend Jeff a complete Dell system with an Intel Pentium 3 processor for only...
Ta-da!
Tell them what they get, Jeff.
We get speakers, a monitor, a keyboard, a mouse.
Very good, Jeff. And you guys don't have to make any payments for 90 days. And Mrs. Pfefferbeam?
That's Pfeffercorn, actually.
Whatever. Dell has award-winning service and support.
Perhaps that's why it's America's favorite PC.
Perhaps.
Get this great Dell computer with an Intel Pentium 3 processor for just $799. We'll include 1 year of DellNet by MSN Internet Access. And right now, well-qualified customers don't have to make any payments for 90 days.
Ready? Mr. and Mrs. Bennett, it's me, Steve.
When you travel on business, don't downsize. Amerisize at AmeriSuites. Need more room to spread out? Get more workspace and features like high-speed internet access, plus more space to unwind in a comfortable suite for the price of an ordinary hotel room. And when it comes to breakfast, don't downsize. Amerisize. Get AmeriSuites' free Bountiful Breakfast Buffet every morning. Next time, check into AmeriSuites. Don't downsize. Amerisize.
Welcome back on campus at USC on Fox Sports Net. Jim Watson along with Dwight Stones and John Jackson. And some early scoring after 3 events on the men's side. UCLA with a slight advantage, 12-11. That's to be expected right now, but there's a guy down with John Jackson that'll have something to say about this before we all go home. His name, of course, Ron Allis, the head coach.
Thanks, Jim. I'm down with head coach Ron Allis. And Coach Allis, so far, both the men and the women have gotten off to a pretty good start.
Yes, but this is not over. This is a heavyweight fight. It's not over. But I think the most important thing is USC's back as a dual meet power. And guarantee you, the people who've come here today are going to see a contest.
Yeah, now
those that are watching, let me tell you something. They can play this one over and over again.
Yeah, I'm sure
everybody's going to like this one.
I am sure they will. And Coach, tell me one more thing. How tough has it been all week listening to things about the streak, this, that, and the other? How much have you discussed that with your team?
I don't have to discuss it with the team. This is a pride thing. It's a pride thing with all of these athletes. They, on both sides, they come out here to perform to the best of their ability. We've got a venue now that I think that everybody can be proud of. We want to bring people back into the stands and come back and enjoy the best of track and field. And guess what? If you come to USC, you're going to see the best of track and field.
I definitely believe that. Thank you very much, Coach. Jim, back to you.
All right, JJ, thank you very much. Dwight, I remember in the old days going to the Coliseum and watching the great SC and UCLA duel meets. They have 25,000 people at those.
The freshman year that I was at UCLA, we had our duel at the Coliseum. 75-70 UCLA beat USC that year.
Some great ones. Moving on to the men's 1500 and take a look at your lane assignments. Sean Rankin, a freshman from UCLA. Kevin Elliott, junior from USC. Paul Moite, senior for the Bruins. Another freshman from USC, Ivan Bannon. Brian Green, the junior from Palmdale, running for UCLA. And late ad, Anthony Solargano from USC, wearing hip number 7. Those are the entries in the men's 1500.
Dual meet record in this race, 3:41.97 by Mark Hauser back just 3 years ago, 1998. And the NCAA automatic qualifier, 3:41.50. I will tell you that Stanford and Washington and Cal pretty much dominate this event at the Pac-10 level. This should be a very competitive race.
Stanford with so many good distance runners. Gabe Jennings, of course, Michael Stember. Stanford just seems to get better every year.
When you have a reputation like that, you get to recruit all the best in the nation.
They recruit themselves then, don't they? Brian Green goes to the front for UCLA. And for USC, it's Anthony Solargano. Now, Solargano's a late add to this. Would you expect that he's in there for pacing?
I would think either for pacing or for blocking.
We'll have to keep an eye on that. Looks like Brian Green with an easy lead early on, about 3 meters as they settle in behind. Men's 1500.
And Jim, you brought up a great point, and that is that it's a little bit breezy down on the track as well as the heat. And the heat on the track is always hotter than it is out in the air. And any of these guys who are going to try and double back to run the 5,000 or run the 800 is going to be interesting. In fact, in this race, Kevin Elliott of USC, really primarily an 800-meter runner, but coach has put him in the 1,500 to try and pick up some points. And the strategy for him is to try and run within himself, not run his kick out for the 800 because he's heavily favored there. And the Bruins have got to try and make him run their race. Again, the transfer from El Camino JC just here locally went to Miracosta in Manhattan Beach. He said, just do what you can do. Don't run the race out of your legs for the 800. That's where I want to see you really dominate. So it's an experiment as we see the UCLA Bruins running 1, 2, 3.
Brian Green and Paul Moite for UCLA. Green came through the first 400 in 60.5. Decent pace.
This might be a little bit stiff for the Trojans to keep up with that kind of pace, and he's getting a little bit of help from his teammates to encourage him to keep going. Moite right there up on his shoulder.
John Rankin running third for UCLA. It's 3 Bruins, then a gap, and then 3 Trojans. And now Moite moves past his teammate Brian Green to take over the lead. Let's see, Green is laboring just a little bit. John Rankin now will also pass Green.
On paper, this race is supposed to go 1-2 for the Bruins and then third place for the Trojans. And that early pacing by Brian Green might make it difficult for him to stay in there for third. Again, this third lap of the mile or 1500s is one where it really separates the men from the boys. You've got to push that third lap, and any gap that you've created, you've got to try and widen it and get ready for that final kick. Brian Green trying to hang on about a 4 or 5 meter gap behind Rankin and Moite.
Split on the second 400. They ran at 62, so they went through in 2:02.
Still a good, honest pace on a day like this from 1,500-meter runners who only 2 in the field that have broken 350. That's roughly a 407, 408 mile pace as we see Moite taking the bell with Rankin second. Brian Green still hanging on nicely in third.
UCLA in position to sweep this race right now with 400 meters left. It's Bruins 1, 2, and 3.
It doesn't appear as though this experiment has worked so well so far. Bruins 1, 2, 3, 9 points to nothing. If it finishes this way, and Kevin Elliott trying to save what he can because he's the best 800-meter runner in the field. As we now see John Rankin take over from Paul Moite.
Rankin sweeping past his teammate Paul Moite on the back. And here comes Kevin Elliott now. Kevin Elliott for USC.
Elliott made a big move and just dropped Brian Green, and now he's got his eyes set on Paul Moite as John Rankin still has about 20 meters lead.
And he goes right past Moite. Does he have enough to catch John Rankin? Doesn't look like it. It's a long way back, but a great effort by Kevin Elliott going from 4th to 3rd and now to 2nd. But John Rankin is going to hold on. The freshman for UCLA wins the 1500. Kevin Elliott 2nd with a great run, and Paul Moite is 3rd. A gutsy effort by Elliott in the last 200 meters of that race, and you can see that USC folks enjoying that by Elliott. They know how tough that was.
John Rankin, the freshman, happy with his effort, but now it's a matter of can Kevin Elliott come back strong in the 800 meters where he leads the conference.
Kevin Elliott was in 4th and pretty much out. It looked like a Bruins sweep, and then all of a sudden he kicked it into another gear. It went right past Brian Green, caught Paul Moite on the corner, and had John Rankin in his sights, but Rankin able to hold him off at the wire. John Rankin wins. We'll come back with final results. The men's 1500 from SC on Fox Sports Net.
You know how they get like that? They get like that by eating the meat.
Whopper says carnivores prefer flame-broiled. In the land of burgers, the flame-broiled Whopper is king.
Mr. and Mrs. Pfeffercorn, hey, it's me, Steve, the kid from next door. Sorry about the rhododendrons. Anywho, Jeff here needs a computer.
Hi, Mom.
Now, Mr. Pfeffercorn, here's the deal. You can get our friend Jeff a complete Dell system with an Intel Pentium 3 processor for only...
Ta-da!
Tell them what they get, Jeff.
We get speakers, a monitor, a keyboard, a mouse.
Very good, Jeff. And you guys don't have to make any payments for 90 days. And Mrs. Pfefferbeam?
That's Pfeffercorn, actually.
Whatever. Dell has award-winning service and support.
Perhaps that's why it's America's favorite PC.
Perhaps.
Get this great Dell computer with an Intel Pentium 3 processor for just $799. We'll include 1 year of DellNet by MSN Internet Access. And right now, well-qualified customers don't have to make any payments for 90 days.
Ready? Mr. and Mrs. Bennett, it's me, Steve.
Come drive the new Explorer at your Ford dealer. They're #1 in Southern California.
23, USC 16.
Welcome back to Cromwell Field, the new Catherine B. Locher Stadium on campus at SC, and a packed house. It's SC and UCLA for the 68th time. Jim Watson, Dwight Stones, and John Jackson with you. We're just underway on a beautiful day in downtown Los Angeles. Final results from the 1500 for the men. John Rankin of UCLA wins at 3:49. Kevin Elliott, a great come-from-behind rally for SC, 3:51.95, and Paul Moite for UCLA. So a Bruin, a Trojan, and a Bruin. Tom Kelly reflects on the contributions of a great friend and Trojan. His name, Kenneth Norris.
Last September, the USC family experienced a great loss with the passing of Kenneth True Norris Jr., a man clearly synonymous with philanthropy. Norris touched the lives of thousands with his generosity by laying the foundation for the USC Norris Comprehensive Cancer Center, one of only 28 centers nationwide devoted to cancer research. Simply put, Kenneth T. Norris Jr. established a legacy that will last for many generations.
I think he came very close to the Renaissance man people talk about. He felt he could make a difference in something, and put his efforts that way. One of his great joys would be like going out to dinner, and a waitress or waiter would come up and say that there'd been a patient here, and how wonderful their care had been. And everybody that we've had personal contact with who has been a patient here, that's what they speak of, even the families where they've lost their loved ones.
Mr. Norris has left behind a world-class institution with world-class faculty that's on the cutting edge, really, of cancer research and treatment.
The original Norris building had the first 4 floors as a cancer hospital. The next 4 floors were for research. It was sort of unheard of to put these things together. But clearly now everybody realizes that's exactly how one should attack the problem.
His legacy here is incredible. I mean, the Norris is a world leader. Thanks in large part, I think, to the incredible contributions and vision of Mr. Norris, particularly in the area of cancer causation and cancer prevention research.
His vision is to make the building useless, and that we cure cancer, and there's no need for this building with his name on it, and we can turn it whatever we want to. That's his vision.
My family's had a lot of cancer, so it's something I've grown up fearing. And I was very happy to be involved in something that might make a difference.
I don't know exactly where I would have been, because I was kind of lost. I didn't know where to go. And being a student at USC, I was right away recommended to the Norris Center. So without it, I don't know where I would have gone.
I've always felt that there was a parallel in the ethical type approach of someone who truly cares about athletics. He was always competitive.
Initially, that I can remember, I was at Berkeley and Mr. Norris was at Stanford. That's when he first was interested in the javelin, and actually he was quite good. Then he transferred from Stanford to USC and became, at that time, more involved in crew.
He was not only a spectator, but he was a doer. He was very much involved in this university, probably one of the greatest friends this university has had in its history. This meet would not have its opportunity to be shown all over the country if it wasn't for his generosity.
There are just so many places you can look and see where he has made a difference. We all hope to keep the foundation running, but without his dynamic feeling about certain things, it will be a void, that's for sure.
If you're between the ages of 40 and 85, call 1-800-334-9100 now. To find out more about the Silver Care Plan, the average funeral now costs over $6,000. But did you know your survivors may only be able to receive government death benefits of $255 if they qualify, leaving your loved ones to pay the balance? You must be age 40 to 85 to qualify. No physical examination is necessary, and coverage starts as soon as you're accepted. The Silver Care Plan is a way for you to help protect your loved ones at a time they'll need it most. To get free information about the Silver Care Plan and its benefits, call 1-800-334-9100. You have no obligation. Don't put it off. Call now.
When Steve Busjager was a little boy, he loved playing with cars. Now that he's grown up, he's got the perfect job, being in charge at Star Ford. Here, he can show off his huge selection of Ford cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Here, he can give customers sensational low prices and easy financing. Here, he can watch Star's expert technicians solve problems quickly and efficiently. Here, he still gets to do what he loves best. Star Ford, doing what we love best.
Hi folks, Maurice Clark, president of La Brea Chrysler Jeep, here to tell you how you can slam dunk a great deal during the NBA playoffs. Just come in now. While you're shopping for a car, make a basket and win $100 instant cash discount on any vehicle in stock. Make 2 baskets, win $200. Make 3 in a row and you win $500 cash discount on any car. Hurry in now and score big at La Brea Chrysler Jeep, corner of 4th and La Brea, just south of Melrose.
Sun-drenched day in downtown Los Angeles on campus at USC in the new track stadium and a great crowd. Jim Watson, Dwight Stones, and John Jackson. The 68th time the Bruins and the Trojans have got together after 9 events on the women's side. UCLA with an advantage 41-36. The Bruins have beaten women of Troy 8 straight years, and on the men's side it's 22 years. Moving on now to the women's 100 hurdles. Beginning in lane 2, the freshman from UCLA, Sonny Roseby. In lane 3 from St. Mary's High School up in Oakland, now running here at USC, the sophomore Spring Harris. In lane 4, and this is where most of the eyes of the spectators will fall, Michelle Perry, the senior from Quartz Hill out in Palmdale, fastest time in the Pac-10 this year, and a 2-time Pac-10 champion in this event. In lane number 5, the junior from USC, Natasha Neal. And in lane 6, the outside here, from Dale City, Virginia, the freshman from UCLA, Sheena Johnson.
And Michelle Perry in lane 4 for UCLA, twice the Pac-10 champion, as Jim said. #1 in the conference, #5 in the U.S. going in the NCAA meet. She's automatically qualified. Meet record in this event, Joanna Hayes of UCLA, 1998. She ran 12.93. In lane 6 for UCLA, just a freshman, #5 in the conference, Sheena Johnson will certainly contend. And in lane 5, USC junior, #9 in the country and #2 in the nation, Natasha Neal. Very competitive race. Of course, for the women's hurdles, you just got to pick them up and put them down as quickly as you possibly can. It's just a sprint with 10 obstacles in the way.
Harris and Neal, the Trojans, in lanes 3 and 5. Roseby, Perry, and Johnson for UCLA in 2, 4, and 6. It looked like Michelle Perry wasn't happy with things.
And Michelle Perry will be moving up to the heptathlon, the 7-event heptathlon at the NCAA meet the first weekend in June for UCLA. And of course, one of the coaches on the Bruin staff is Bobby Kersey, his wife, Jackie Joyner Kersey, the greatest heptathlon who ever lived and one of the greatest female athletes in history. So she has a great advantage. Gail Devers, of course, a heptathlete at UCLA during her time in Westwood.
Dwight, when Michelle Perry held her hand up, was that a little gamesmanship there?
It could be. It looked like she did make an adjustment to her blocks, though. It may have just been for show, but it did appear that she was not comfortable. And as I mentioned, with the credentials in this particular race, even though she has great experience and twice the conference champion, this is going to be a very competitive race.
Perry and forward, Natasha Neal out quickly for USC in lane 5, and Sheena Johnson for the Bruins goes with her. Look at Neal. It's Neal, and here comes Perry. Here comes Perry. Right on cue, Michelle Perry. And it looked like Roseby on the inside for UCLA was 3rd. Neal got out quick. Perry didn't get a great start, but middle of the race really took things over.
Well, Perry actually got a lousy start. Not only did Natasha Neal get a great start, but so did Sonny Roseby up in UCLA, for UCLA up in lane 2. But as you see the finish, Perry just kept her composure. You have to run your own race and just your own set of hurdles. You can't be worried about what's going on with in the lanes next to you. It did appear as though Neal did come up for 2nd place. You can see Michelle Perry in ISO. She is just like a metronome. She just Doesn't worry about what's going on next to her. She keeps her technique together. You see Neal hits a hurdle pretty hard there. Number 7 hits pretty hard. That probably made a difference. Perry holding up well, wins the race as she's supposed to. The Bruins go 1-3.
Michelle Perry, an impressive performance after a less than great start. Her time 13:18 and the win was legal. Natasha Neal is second at 13:38, and then Roseby. After 5 events on the men's side, UCLA with a 23-18 advantage, but a chance here for USC to pick up 5 important points as we move to the men's 110 highs. And we'll give you your lane assignments beginning in lane 2. Junior from USC, J.R. Jackson. In lane 3, Marcel Allman. Of course, he plays on the football team as well, a great high school decathlete, sophomore. Johnny Hall, Certified High School down in Orange County, now a senior at UCLA, is in lane 4. Ryan Wilson, who already has an NCAA qualifying mark in this event, the sophomore from USC and the favorite in the race. And right next to him, probably his toughest competition, Chucky Ryan, the redshirt freshman from Skyline High School in Oakland, ran a season best 14:08 to win the Cal Nevada Championships earlier this season. In lane 7, J.K. Mambo, the senior from USC. And on the outside, Kyle Erickson, the sophomore from Illinois.
And the middle track, lane 5, the sophomore, Pac-10 champion as a freshman, Ryan Wilson. It's the number 2 time in the conference, number 9 time in the U.S., and as Jim said, already automatically qualified for the NCAAs. In lane 7, J.K. Mambo, the senior from Brussels, Belgium, provisionally qualified for the NCAAs, and number 4 in the conference this year. And Charles Ryan, Chucky Ryan, the freshman from UCLA. They're expecting big things out of him in the next couple of years. But Ryan Wilson of USC winning the conference as a freshman, that was a big, big boost to those USC Trojans. Ron Alice loving that. And another very competitive race that we're looking at. Once again, we see that UCLA having a lot of young kids coming up the next couple of years. They're going to be very, very strong on both the men's and women's side with as many freshmen and sophomores as they have at this point.
Ryan Wilson, a lot of style, a little bit of attitude. And that's always important in the sprints when you're standing so close to each other.
You know, it's interesting about all the straightaway races. Every sprinter from lane 1 to lane 8 thinks they're winning the race. They honestly do believe they're winning the race.
Well, I expect this race to be decided in lanes 5 and 6. Ryan Wilson for USC, Chucky Ryan for UCLA, but don't forget about Mambo there in lane 7.
The thing I love about college track, we should adopt internationally, is no false starts. You false start, you're gone. It eliminates anticipating the gun, and it moves things along nicely.
That was me over the bar.
Drake Foster has the meet record at this event.
Wilson, a good start in lane 5, and also Mambo for USC in lane 7. It's Mambo and Wilson. Here comes Wilson. It's 2 Trojans, Wilson and Mambo. Wilson, Mambo on the outside, and they clap hands and look at each other as they go across.
Well, that went pretty much true to form. Ryan Wilson, not the greatest start of the field, but certainly did dominate the event from about the 3rd or 4th hurdle. And for a while there, looked like it was going to be a Trojan sweep. We'll have to take a look and see if that's the way it turned out. But this is hot dog city. Ryan Wilson, as you said, a little bit of attitude. And J.K. Mambo, we weren't able to see who was able to hold up the serve on the official results, but it looks like it could have been a Trojan sweep.
You know, people talk about track and field being such an individual sport. Well, there you saw a lot of teamwork between those 2 guys. And Ryan Wilson, as concerned with his teammate, J.K. Mambo, on the outside as he was with himself. He wasn't even concerned with hitting the tape first. Now the Trojans celebrate as they go 1-2. We'll come back with official results from the men's 110 highs. A thunderous applause from a sellout crowd at Locher Stadium on campus for Ryan Wilson and J.K. Mambo.
They're watching you, compiling your information, invading your privacy, revealing your identity. At Earthlink, we would never do that. We just deliver the totally anonymous internet.
Right here, right now.
It's time for Toyota's national sales event.
A time for great values on a big selection of V8 Tundras and Tacomas. Get $750 cash back on any new full-size Tundra, powered by the incredible iForce V8. And check out the all-new 4-door Tacoma Double Cab. Don't wait. Get $750 cash back on any new Tundra. Toyota's national sales event, right here, right now, at your Toyota dealer today.
Mr. and Mrs. Pfeffercorn, hey, it's me, Steve, the kid from next door. Sorry about the rhododendrons. Anywho, Jeff here needs a computer.
Hi, Mom.
Now, Mr. Pfeffercorn, here's the deal. You can get our friend Jeff a complete Dell system with an Intel Pentium 3 processor for only...
Ta-da!
Tell them what they get, Jeff.
We get speakers, a monitor, a keyboard, a mouse.
Very good, Jeff. And you guys don't have to make any payments for 90 days. And Mrs. Pfefferbeam?
That's Pfeffercorn, actually.
Whatever. Dell has award-winning service and support.
Perhaps that's why it's America's favorite PC.
Perhaps.
Get this great Dell computer with an Intel Pentium 3 processor for just $799. We'll include 1 year of DellNet by MSN Internet Access. And right now, well-qualified customers don't have to make any payments for 90 days.
Ready? Mr. and Mrs. Bennett, it's me, Steve.
Welcome back on campus at USC on Fox Sports Net. Jim Watson, Dwight Stones, and John Jackson. The results from the men's hurdles. A USC sweep, Ryan Wilson, 13.97. J.K. Mambo, his teammate, also 13.97. And Marcel Allman, the sophomore, 14.36. His USC goes 1, 2, 3. Time to check in with some of the infield events earlier in the day. The women's javelin.
All right, Jim. Inga Stesilajonte from Vilnius, Lithuania, and USC, just a freshman. And she whips the spear out to 173 feet 9 inches, beating her own teammate by nearly 25 feet. USC went going 1-2. Leslie Erickson of USC finishing second, and Suzanne Lynn of UCLA picking up the 1 point for the Lady Bruins.
USC goes first and second in the women's javelin. Now on to the women's 400. Yasan Williams, a sophomore from Albany, New York, running for UCLA in lane 3. Carla Estes in lane 4, the senior from USC. In the middle of the track with the best time in the Pac-10 this year, Adia McKinnon from UCLA. Malika Edmondson in lane 6 for USC, a great track career and a great track family. Bumi Ugunleye, the freshman from Long Beach Poly, she's a junior from Long Beach Poly, now running for UCLA. And in lane 8, Nicole Gaskin, she's the freshman from Diamond Bar High School.
And in lane 5, that fabulous freshman from UCLA, #1 in the Pac-10 and an NCAA provisional time, 52.88, Adia McKinnon. The meet record in this event by Andrea Anderson of UCLA 3 years ago, 51.48. And out in lane 4, Carla Estes of USC, the senior. She has the #2 time in the conference, and really an advantage for her being in lane 4. She gets to watch the inexperienced freshman right outside of her through the first half of the race. She can gauge if she looks tired, if she perhaps has gone out too fast, how she handles the wind coming off that final turn. Very, very important. Estes, a much more powerful runner than is McKinnon, who is more built for speed.
Estes in 4 for USC. McKinnon, UCLA in 5, and Malika Edmondson in lane 6.
And Edmondson, of course, the daughter of Warren Edmondson, who won the NCAA championships in the 100 meters and 200 meters back in 1972. That was the year I was at UCLA. And then Barbara Edmondson, the women's coach here at USC. Her younger sister, Maya, is also on the team.
Women's 400. Estes in lane 4, but you have to think McKinnon probably the best corner. Look at McKinnon for UCLA.
McKinnon moving very nicely this first 100 meters, taking advantage of the breeze that blows down that back stretch. And Coach Sean Smith at UCLA, who certainly has had his input with her, has always told her when you've got the win early in the race, you go with it and establish the lead. But now watch Carla Estes starting to make a move with 200 to go.
Estes for USC and McKinnon for UCLA. McKinnon out front. McKinnon leaning through the turn. Here comes Estes.
23.1 for the first 200 meters. Now is when experience and strength counts. McKinnon coming up the final 100, but watch Estes moving.
That's Williams for UCLA on the inside. Here comes Estes. Estes going past McKinnon. Estes, can she hold on? Carla Estes for USC gets McKinnon just at the tape. And Williams was third.
Now that has to be considered a minor upset coming into the race. Carla Estes had a 3/4 second deficit in season's best times to make up. But as I mentioned, a huge advantage for her to be inside of Adia McKinnon. I'm sure Coach Edmondson and Coach Alice really worked hard to try and get that particular lane set up. You see Estes there in the middle of those three, the stronger runner, certainly starting to tie up. You can see her arms flailing, but Adia McKinnon, the freshman, just simply doesn't have the experience, doesn't have the strength to fight that breeze coming up the home stretch here at Cromwell Track, and Carla Estes pulls the upset.
Estes wins it in 53.36, Adia McKinnon 53.58, and Williams was third. Palm trees swaying in the breeze, downtown Los Angeles, temperature in the low 80s, but the wind has picked up a little bit. On campus at USC, the 68th meeting between SC and UCLA earlier today, men's javelin.
And sophomore Nate Merrim from Vintage High School up in Napa, just 6 feet, 185 pounds. He has the number 3 throw in the conference and provisionally qualified for the NCAAs. 215 feet, 3 inches to win the event. USC took second and third, William O'Grady and Tel Hendren.
Nate can be a little scary too, can't he? Moving on to the men's 400. In lane 1, David Bizek, the junior from USC. In lane 2, great athlete here, a freshman for UCLA, Warren Rogers. Rod Arzu, junior from USC, is in lane 3. Denye Verscher, freshman from Oakland, now at UCLA. Andre Ammons, senior from USC, in lane 5. From Loyola High School here in Los Angeles, Rodney Diggs, and that's a name familiar to track fans and football fans here in Southern California. To John Joyner, the senior from USC in 7, and Josh Craig, a freshman from Long Beach, in lane 8.
And Andre Ammons out in lane 5, the senior, number 5 time in the conference, provisionally qualified for the NCAAs. And back in 1992, Quincy Watts set the meet record, ran 44.43 in a dual meet the year that he won the gold medal in Barcelona in 1992 at the 400 meters. And here's a guy they're really counting on for the future. Warren Rogers down in lane 2, just a freshman, doesn't have a time, but Coach John Smith said, watch this guy. Tell me if you don't think of some people that were at the school back 30 years ago when you see this kid run. Also out in lane 4 for UCLA, Denye Verscher. He's got the number 8 time in the conference, just a freshman. Should also make some noise here at this 400. UCLA has got to make a move here. USC has all the momentum in this meet so far.
This one's starting to get away from UCLA a little bit. Remember, on the men's side, USC hasn't beaten UCLA since 1978. 22 consecutive meetings. There was one meet between these two that was a non-scoring duel.
I was talking to Coach Ron Alice earlier in the week, and he said, you know, I really had my shot the last 2 years on the men's side, and things just didn't go my way. I don't think I'm as strong this year. Well, I will tell you, everything is going the Trojans' way on both the men's and women's side, and he certainly has the depth, and he's picking up those close seconds and thirds. That's what counts in a dual meet.
Of course, they have all this momentum from the new stadium and a big home crowd on a perfect day. Men's 400. Andre Ammons, USC, is in lane 5. And he's making up the stagger quickly on the corner as he starts to close on Rodney Diggs.
Denye Verscher of UCLA in the middle of the track, trying to play the same game that Carla Estes played in the women's race, letting Ammons go and then see if he can reel him in the last 100 meters.
Ammons will take him into the corner. Ammons with Diggs on his outside, but watch for Verscher. Here comes Verscher for UCLA on the inside against Ammons. Ammons and Verscher, it's going to be those two. Looks like Ammons has plenty. He glances over his right shoulder. He's not concerned with Verscher. And look at Andre Ammons coasting to the wire.
Unofficially 46.41, a pretty good breeze blowing against them in that final 100 meters, where no matter how fast you're running this race, it just is painful.
Oh, that'll just kill the legs as you come off that corner and run right into the teeth of the wind.
For a second there, it looked like Denye Verscher was going to make a move, about 125 meters to go. But Ammons showed his strength and his experience. The senior lifts beautifully with 100 meters to go. You can see he makes the gap there between himself and Verscher and Joyner.
Yeah, he stole a little glance just to make sure Verscher didn't have anything left at the end. Andre Emmons wins it 46-39. Verscher, a personal best, 47-24. And Rodney Diggs, 47-58. The men's 400 in the book.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the Chevron. Let's all go to the Chevron.
A spirited 2-liter engine, a sport-tuned suspension, the Nissan Sentra. The last thing it performs like is a compact.
Did you know that scientists have discovered the hairless gene? If you have thinning hair, call 1-800-HAIR-CLUB now and get your copy of our latest report. You can read about exclusive interviews with doctors and scientists and learn about the different options that Hair Club has available today in the fight against hair loss. Hair Club is the one source for hair loss information.
Call 1-800-HAIR-CLUB now and get this booklet or CD-ROM free.
Now that I've got my hair back, I'm glad I made that call.
Call 1-800-HAIR-CLUB today.
Roy Jones Jr. was trained by his father to become the greatest fighter of his era.
Champion of the world!
But his greatness came with a price that would shape his life forever. Beyond the Glory, next on Fox Sports Net. NASCAR Victory Lane, from the pole position to the winner's circle. A full recap of all the day's action. NASCAR Victory Lane, tomorrow at 9 on Fox Sports Net.
College track on campus at USC here on Fox Sports Net. Jim Watson, Dwight Stone, St. John Jackson. Earlier today, the women's pole vault. And all these points important now.
Well, Jim, the hottest event in track and field, the women's pole vault. Stacey Regila, of course, the world record holder and Olympic gold medalist. This is junior Tracy O'Hara from Rancho Bernardo High School down in San Diego. She clears 14 feet and then pushed it right to a new collegiate record, which she already holds. She's a defending NCAA champion from last year and really is just a couple of inches away from being world class. She misses this time, but it's still early in the season. She already holds the dual meet record between USC and UCLA.
Tracy O'Hara, best in the country?
No question. In the college ranks, no question.
Women's standings now after 12 events, and look at this. Well, we had an upset brewing on the men's side, and likewise for the women. USC has gone in front, 53-51, the women of Troy after 12 events. Remember, UCLA has beaten the women of Troy 8 straight years, and on the men's side, it's 22 times in a row. On now to one of the marquee events, the women's 100 meters. In lane 1, Ola Adenyi, the sophomore, UCLA by way of Bishop O'Dowd High School up in Alameda in the Bay Area. In lane 2, Kansasha Davis, the junior, Long Beach Wilson High School. Sonny Roseby, freshman from Monterey for UCLA in lane 3. In lane 4, first time we've seen Candace Young today, the senior, already has an NCAA qualifying mark. In lane 5, Shakita Jones, senior for UCLA from Waukegan, Illinois. In lane 6, the two-time NCAA champion in this event, Angela Williams, just a junior, trying to become the first woman ever to win this 3 times. She can do it again this year. Ebony Grayson in lane 7, the junior from Taft High School. And on the outside, Tiffany Bennett, freshman for USC. But of course, any dialogue about the women's 100 has to begin with Angela Williams.
There's no question. Out in lane 6, junior Angela Williams, as you mentioned, twice the NCAA champion. She just won the silver medal in the indoor world 60-meter dash. She only has the number 3 time in the conference, an automatic qualifier to the NCAA, but she doesn't ever run the fast times until it counts, and that's going to be in Eugene in a few weeks. In lane 4 from USC, Candace Young, the senior, she's got the number 2 time in the conference, also as a professional NCAA qualifier. And in lane 5, the UCLA senior Shakita Jones, number 4 time in the conference, also a provisional qualifier to the NCAA. This should be a great race. They got the wind at their back, And the USC women of Troy have got tremendous momentum. It's looking like upset in the dual meet score looming.
And once again, we talked about this at the outset of our show, the women's 4x1, Angela Williams running that opening leg. I watched her run in high school. I've watched her run for a couple years in college. I've never seen her get anything less than a great start. Lane 6, Angela Williams. And again, she is the first one out of the blocks. It is uncanny. Angela Williams, and she's being challenged just a little bit. Angela Williams, Ebony Grayson was trying to stay with her. Shakita Jones.
I got to tell you, I think Shakita Jones might have pulled the upset.
Wow, the Bruins think so.
And I got to tell you, if anything will stifle momentum, that's it.
Now, Shakita Jones with a great rally over the last 50 meters. It was Williams, and here comes Shakita Jones, middle of the track.
No question. Of course, we're way up close to the starting line, but even from here, it appeared as though Jones got it. And you said, Waddy, in lane 6, Angela Williams just reacts to the gun like nobody I've ever seen on the women's side. And she's lifting beautifully. It looks like it's a slam dunk. She's going to run away from it. But Shakita Jones doesn't believe that. The senior has been at all the high-level competitions. She knows how important this meet is. And the last 20 meters, she lifts beautifully and pulls the upset.
You know, if there's been one knock on Angela Williams, is that she runs an even race. And that's where Shakita Jones saw the door was open.
Not surprising that she won the silver medal in the 60 meters. She doesn't finish as well as she will when she gets older.
Biggest upset of the day, Shakita Jones standing by with John Jackson.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. I'm down here with the winner, Shakita Jones. Shakita, outstanding race. Did you think you could pull it off against Angela?
Yeah, I'm just here to help my team win this dual meet. Just another step towards the NCAA championship.
Now, how big is this dual meet? I know you talk about USC, UCLA. This battle has gone on and talked about all year long. How big is it for your team?
It's crazy. This is where this is where our season starts. We just want to come out here and show everybody that we're #1 team in the country.
Well, Shakita, thanks for the time. Jim, back to you.
JJ, Shakita, thank you very much. Shakita Jones, the senior for UCLA, with the shocker today. She beats Angela Williams, the two-time NCAA champion in the 100. Jones 11-13, Williams 11-18, and Kansasha Davis for SC was third. A great look at Cromwell Field, right in the middle of campus at SC, only now it's Catherine B. Locher Stadium. As the camera pans left, you'll see a packed house. Holds 3,000 people now, and they plan on adding on to the grandstands all the way down the stretch and make it a lot bigger. Collegiate track in Southern California doesn't get any better than this. Now, after 8 events on the men's side, UCLA leading USC 40-37. We expect it to be that close and come all the way down to the 4x4 as we finish the day. On to the men's 100. In lane 1, Brandon Foster, UCLA. In lane 2, Sutan McCullough, fresh off of spring football, the junior for USC. In lane 3, Stephen Hayes, freshman from UCLA. In lane 4, Devin Ward, and this guy can move, junior for USC. Probably the fastest guy on paper. Brian Harrison, the senior from UCLA, in lane 5. Another football player in lane 6. You know, Daryl Rideau plays in the secondary, the sophomore, very quick. Mike Lipscomb, junior, transferred from Mount Sac in lane 7, and Miguel Fletcher, yet another USC footballer, out on the outside in lane 8.
And the dual meet record between these schools, Otto Bolden of UCLA, the Olympic silver and bronze medalist, 10.04 back in 1996. Should mention that Shakita Jones held the dual meet record at 11:11. She ran 11:13, so she lived right up to her billing. Sultan McCullough in lane 2, they don't really have a time for him because he just came out from football, but he certainly has the most potential in this field, even though the number 2, 3, 5, and 7 times in the conference are in this particular race. Daryl Rideau, the sophomore, number 3 in the conference, provisionally qualified for the NCAA. Devin Ward, number 2 time in the conference for USC. On paper, this should be a USC sweep.
McCullough in 2, Ward is in 4, Rideau in 6. Devin Ward in lane 4 and Daryl Rideau in lane 6. Look at Rideau. Rideau trying to steal one. Here comes McCullough inside. Look at Sutan McCullough. I think he's in track form.
Coach said he'd only been out for about 10 or 12 days, but he never worries about the kind of shape that he happens to be in. Of course, he said the same thing last year, and then he caught a real bad cramp and a partial strain in the 200, and that ended USC's chances of winning the duel. McCullough looking good. Of course, he didn't have to work that hard in the relay because UCLA dropped the baton, but he sure noticed early that he is in track shape and very close. It looks like it could have been a Trojan sweep. Look at McCullough there, very powerful. And he's got that little bit of breeze at the back, just lifting nicely into the middle of the race, doing a little bit of the twist with his upper bodies. We see Stephen Hayes pull up in lane 3 for the Bruins, but McCullough, that's for bragging rights and practice.
I bet some of their best races come in practice. Sutan McCullough, and you said it, I think the adjective there, powerful runner. He looks like a football player coming down the track, but his times are like a sprinter. Sutan McCullough, 10:28. Devin Ward finishes second in 10:44. Darrell Rideau also 10:44. The Trojans go 1, 2, 3. Share the love.
You probably wouldn't know it by looking at me now, but I used to have a hair loss problem.
Whether you're just starting to thin or experiencing advanced hair loss, Hair Club has an option that's right for you. Call 1-800-HAIR-CLUB now for this free booklet.
So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and make the call, because after all, you can't hit a home run if you don't get up to bat.
If you'd like to get more hair, call 1-800-HAIR-CLUB today.
If only your house could talk, what would it say?
I've seen quite a few parties out here, let me tell you.
The way I see it, the deck is just like a porch, only better.
What's your vision of the perfect backyard? At Lowe's, we can help you put it all together. From a wide selection of name brand grills to styles of patio furniture everyone will love.
I like to think of myself as the room with the fresh air.
Lowe's, improving home improvement.
Now through Memorial Day, spend $250 on your Lowe's card and get 6 months, no payments, no finance charges.
Don't settle for anything less. Escape from Hollywood. Host Ted Demme and friends.
This is Steven Soderbergh.
Balthazar Getty.
Ileana Douglas, how are you?
Bring you the best of the indie film world.
Why is this an independent movie?
And even got my money back.
A different film every Sunday at 8 Eastern.
And it works.
Escape from Hollywood.
How's that for an intro?
Coming sooner than you think. A sight like no other. Truth shall become lies. Lies, the truth. History, the intensity, the hellfire, and brimstone. Judgment Day is upon us.
WWF Judgment Day is in demand. Presented live by RC Cola Sunday, May 20th. Visit WWFJudgmentDay.com for more details.
You're watching Fox Sports Net.
Packed house at Catherine B. Locher Stadium, the new house on campus for Trojan Track at USC. Color Track on Fox Sports Net. Jim Watson, Dwight Stones, and John Jackson. After 14 events on the women's side. Now it's pretty tight. UCLA, the slight advantage, 62-60. Remember, UCLA has beaten SC 8 years in a row on the women's 800. Beginning with UCLA senior Bridie Hatch from Ojai. Tiffany Burgess also from UCLA, the sophomore from Birmingham High School. Then Alexandra Darren for USC. Brigitte Lagerholtz in lane 6. Lena Nelson, sophomore, UCLA in lane 7. And Cammie Patton, USC in lane 8.
Well, in lane 6, Brigitte Lagerholtz, fourth place finisher in Sydney, just missing a medal. Number 1 in the conference, number 1 in the nation from Skopje Loka, Slovenia, and she's right out to the front of this 800. And with Isan Williams out for UCLA of this race, Trojans should easily go 1-2 with Alexandra Darren of Poland, who won the 1500 meters earlier, now doubling back here in the 800. And for the Lady Bruins, with Isan Williams out, they've got Bridie Hatch, the UCLA senior, number 5 in the conference this year, and Tiffany Burgess, number 4 in the conference. Both have provisional NCAA qualifiers. Darren back there in 5th place now, but we've already shown her to be a very smart strategist in these middle distance races.
Brigitte Lagerholtz, the senior from USC, the best time in the NCAA this year, and holds the Pac-10 record in this event, 158.51. As I told you, was 4th at Sydney, comes through the first quarter, and 60.2.
Regina Pence of USC set the meet record here 2 years ago, 2:02.24. And Langerholtz well in command at this point with Bruins second and third. Darren has been dropped. She is in fourth, and I don't expect her to come back, so it'll be a win for USC, most likely, and then second and third for the Lady Bruins, unless something dramatic happens in the last 200 meters.
It's like Lena Nilsson running second for UCLA right now, the sophomore from Sweden. Brigitte Langerholtz, as expected, out front and in control, and you'd have to think she's going to be one of the favorites in Athens in 2004.
You know, if she stays with it, it's just surprising to see how well she did, considering the long collegiate season she had, as she lives beautifully into the headwind. UCLA will get second and third, so they do improve by 1 point over the projections. They were projected for just second place. Very talented, very seasoned Brigitte Langerholtz. A nice, easy race as she wins by 30 meters. A little trouble earlier in the race. Tiffany Burgess going down when they were all getting ready to make a move on Langerholtz probably would not have changed the outcome from a standpoint of the UCLA getting second and third, but that was a little bit of a bright light for the Bruins. They were expected just to get second in that race. Brigitte Langerholtz ranked 9th in the world in the women's 800. She was best on the track here today. It's a dual meet, SC and UCLA.
Well, the network's down. Bagel.
Yeah, bagels.
Blow for bagels.
Hey guys, can I come?
Give him bagels.
Okay.
Network's down. Your bagel?
Need a reliable network that keeps everything working? Pacific Bell Data. We're on it.
Did you know that scientists have discovered the hairless gene? If you have thinning hair, call 1-800-HAIR-CLUB now and get your copy of our latest report. You can read about exclusive interviews with doctors and scientists and learn about the different options that Hair Club has available today in the fight against hair loss. Hair Club is the one source for hair loss information.
Call 1-800-HAIR-CLUB now and get this booklet or CD-ROM free.
Now that I've got my hair back, I'm glad I made that call.
Call 1-800-HAIR-CLUB today.
Pro football's newest team is the Carnivores. Let's meet the owner. Jack, why football?
Well, Gare, I love the game. I'm a team builder, and I think the guys respect me.
So, what's your first move?
These are big guys, and they need a big breakfast. We're going to fill them up with my ultimate breakfast sandwich, maybe a supreme croissant. Let me tell you, that ultimate breakfast sandwich with the 2 eggs, the bacon, the ham, and the cheese, you're looking at a farm on a bun.
Any other changes?
Yeah.
The May Marathon is on now at your Ford dealer. 30 days to sell 30,000 Fords. Get as low as 0.9% APR or up to $2,000 factory cash on some of Ford's best sellers like 2001 Mustangs, Rangers, F-150s, Explorer Sports, Windstars, and Expeditions. The May Marathon. This month, your Ford dealers want to sell 1,000 Fords a day. And that means you're driving home in the car, truck, or SUV you've been waiting for.
Final results from the women's 800 meter as expected. Brigitte Langerholtz from USC wins at 2:03.49, pretty much unchallenged. A couple of Bruins second and third. SC picks up 5 points and UCLA 4. John Jackson is working the infield for us. John Jackson was an All-American receiver here at USC. So with all these people to choose from, who does he find? He finds another wide receiver.
Thanks, Jim. Well, track meets bring out all the stars, and I'm down with Freddie Mitchell, the first-round draft choice of the Philadelphia Eagles. Freddie, first of all, what do you know about track?
I know Sultan McKellar is fast. I don't know. It's an individual event, and that's pretty good. It brings out the best in all the athletes and shows which one has heart and which one doesn't.
Now, your first-round pick of the Philadelphia Eagles. How pleased? You have to be pleased to go in the first round, and looking forward to that opportunity.
Paycheck, I'm pleased. But I'm in a good situation. I got a great quarterback. The fans in Philadelphia are the best, so it's going to be good.
Now, last thing I got to ask you, they always talk about the trash talking. Let's get into it now. How much is it? Is it all hype, or is it actually a lot of trash talking from you?
See, it's usually from the defensive backs. You know, they got to ignite the flame for me to usually talk. I really don't talk that much. So, I mean, it's the league. These dudes are 30 years old. I gotta simmer down a little bit, you know, simmer down.
I understand. Hey, Freddie, thanks for the time. Jim, back to you.
Freddie Mitchell. Yeah, you don't talk to you, Freddie. Oh, he's a great guy. I spent a day at UCLA with him walking around. He's a very popular guy in Westwood. Freddie Mitchell now on his way to the NFL. We're on our way to the men's 800. Here's your lane assignments. Martin Bricks, the junior from University High School down in Orange County. Robert Kirwa, freshman for USC. Paul Moite, we saw earlier today, senior from NoHo, North Hollywood High School. Rob Ruiz, the junior, USC. Nick Thornton from Vista High School, freshman for UCLA. Kevin Elliott, a junior for USC. And then Phil Young, the sophomore from UCLA from La Cañada.
And the dual meet record between these schools in the 800 meters, Rayfield beaten 146.47 way back in 1978. In lane 6, Kevin Elliott, the junior, Miracosta High School, Manhattan Beach, El Camino JC, #1 time in the conference this year and a provisional NCAA qualifier. Had a gutty performance in the 1500, came up for second place, 3 big points for USC, just what Coach Alice was hoping he would do. Inside him on lane 5, the senior from UCLA, Nick Thornton, may challenge depending on how much of that kick the 1500 meters took out of Kevin Elliott. Also want to make a correction, that was Birdie Hatch that hit the turf in the women's 800, and UCLA still came up with a second and third, picking up a couple of points they weren't expecting.
Crowd picking up the clap. Made famous, of course, at Hayward Field, University of Oregon, when Steve Prefontaine used to run up there. Runners on the track for the men's 800. This meet is tight on both sides, men's and women's, so every point ultra important right now.
NCAAs will be up in Eugene, Oregon this first weekend in June, and those people, 15 or 16,000 strong, will be enjoying all 3 days. It'll be great atmosphere for these middle distance runners. They love the middle distance races in Eugene.
You and I were up there for the Pac-10s last year, and that's just a great experience. That is the mecca for college track and field. Hayward up at the University of Oregon in Eugene. Well, the first guy out was Nick Thornton for UCLA. Thornton bolted right to the front. The Bruins hold the first 3 spots.
Looks like they're going to try the same strategy they did in the 1500. It didn't work all that well for them. They sort of underestimated Kevin Elliott's ability and his strength at the 1500. But again, he has not doubled in a dual meet these 2 distances with this much on the line, so it should be interesting. Also from Eldoret, Kenya, the freshman, Robert Kirwa, first African distance runner that Ron Alice has managed to get to USC.
Elliott, if you're keeping an eye on him, is running 5th right now on the inside. Great kick earlier in the day, but like Dwight just asked, you gotta wonder how much he's got left. Well, he's starting to empty that tank right now. There goes Elliott again. Elliott to the front.
And just a burst of speed over about 20 or 30 meters took him from 5th place into 1st. Now it's a matter of how much of that 1500 take out of him. The Bruins are right to try to stay right up with him, and any moment of weakness that he shows, any lack of fitness for this last 100 meters, they've got to try to pounce on it.
Elliott, Thornton, and then it's Moite. Elliott, well, he emptied that tank before. Does he have any in reserve? Look at Elliott. Elliott with Thornton and Moite behind him and fading. And Elliott is going to win the 800. A great day for Kevin Elliott, the junior from USC.
Well, he did everything that Coach Alice asked him to do. He won especially the race where he's #1 in the Pac-10 conference, and he got him a tough second place, 3 points in the 1500. But that race went true to form. Elliott winning it for USC, but the Bruins picking up 4 points behind. But they are not just good enough to be, or it's not just good enough for them to be status quo at this point in the meet. They have lost a lot of points from earlier events that they need to make up. They need to try to stifle this momentum and turn the tide if they're going to be able to continue the streak that now stands at 23 years.
Kevin Elliott, well, he flexed that move earlier in the meet that come from behind. This time he went to the front early and held everybody off. Kevin Elliott, the junior, wins the men's 800 for Ole SC.
It's here, waiting for you. Inside is unlimited strength and power. It builds confidence and reshapes your body. It can change everything. This is Bowflex, an entire gym in one easy-to-use machine. So powerful, it delivers over 60 health club quality exercises with up to 410 pounds of resistance, all in the convenience of your own home.
Strength training with Bowflex is so effective that we guarantee you'll get the results you want in 6 weeks or less. And you can own one with no money down and payments as low as $33 per month. Bowflex is real. The results are real. The question is, are you ready for Bowflex? For a free video and brochure, call or go online at bowflexdirect.com. Do the research, listen to real customers, then place your order online and get started. Bowflex. Who said change isn't easy?
From the makers of Michael Jordan to the Max comes
Slam from the street.
It's all the best passes, shots, and dunks to come off the playground. Slam from the Street features summer leagues and invitational tournaments from the hottest basketball cities: New York, Brooklyn, Chicago, and Philly. Slam from the Street also highlights the hardcore action and the best moves of the cream of the crop players from America's playgrounds. And you'll hear commentaries from these asphalt gods. Working material may be offensive for kids under 16.
So what? He gonna hear my mouth out, and I'm gonna keep on. I can beef as long as I'm playing, and I keep playing.
Slam from the Street is set to the hottest hip-hop tracks around, delivering a high-energy, action-packed video of the most jamming street ball moves in the world. Call now and you'll receive the hit video Slam from the Street for just $14.95 or DVD for $19.95. You can pay by using your checking account over the phone. We're so sure you'll love Slam from the Street that we're offering a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not completely satisfied, just return it for a full refund of the purchase price. No questions asked. So pick up the phone to get Slam from the Street. Call now.
Final results from the 800 meters for men. Kevin Elliott wins at 1:50.55. Certainly not his best, but it was more than he needed. Nick Thornton, UCLA, was second, and Paul Moite, also from UCLA. So Trojans pick up 5, and Bruins pick up 4. Checking point standings on the women's side after 15 events. This is women now. UCLA with a 1-point lead, 66-65. It's nervous time, especially for those who have a history in this dual meet series. One of those, a legend here at SC, is standing by with John Jackson.
Thanks, Jim. I'm down with defending world champion and 3-time Pac-10 champion Inger Miller. And Inger, you know all about this rivalry. The last time you were in this rivalry, you actually were the last team to beat UCLA, so you have to be proud of that. Tell us about the rivalry, though.
Oh, God, it's a hot one. I love it. You know, it's one of these meets that you come back to and you just feel the history, and knowing that my father was here and that he ran against UCLA, and it's a great feeling.
And now yourself, you're getting ready for a lot of events coming up. How about your career? How's that coming?
It's coming along. I mean, I had an injury last year, missed the Olympics, but this year's World Championships, I want to defend my title in the 200, and I'm looking forward to winning gold in the 100. And lastly, your prediction. Can the men and the women, close on both sides, which one can pull it off? Can they pull off the upset today? Of course I have to say yes.
Jim, with a biased Inger Miller, back to you.
It's a USC love fest in the infield. Is that tough for you to watch, Dwight?
Oh, no. You know, she is a great athlete. It's such a shame to see her get hurt just before the Olympic Games. I mean, she had such a great 1999. She was ready to give Marion Jones everything that she thought she could handle, and to not be able to participate in the relay was such a shame. But we got a race on the track right now that could really nail the door shut in this dual meet.
It's a women's 400 hurdles, and we'll set them for you. Michelle Perry, UCLA, one of the nation's best in the heptathlon from Fort Hill High School. She's in lane 3. Rebecca Patterson, USC, in lane 4. Sheena Johnson, the senior from UCLA, ranked 2nd in the nation in this event. In lane 6, Natasha Neal, the junior for USC. Yasan Williams, sophomore, UCLA, in lane 7. And Nicole Gaskin, a freshman from Diamond Bar, in lane 8.
And Sheena Johnson, as you mentioned, the number 2 time in the nation, number 1 in the conference, so she'll score some points in Eugene in a few weeks. On paper, at least as far as times are concerned, this could easily be a Bruins sweep, and boy, do they need those points. Many are thinking that USC will sneak in for at least a couple. Isan Williams out in lane 7, the number 2 time in the conference, has a provisional time. In fact, the UCLA Bruins have the top 3 times in the conference. And then USC's Natasha Neal has the number 4 time in the conference. So this is a hot one.
A lot of pressure on Natasha Neal for USC just to break up that possible Bruins sweep here. Michelle Perry in lane 3, Sheena Johnson lane 5, and Yasan Williams in lane 7. Those are the 3 Bruins in this race.
And it's so amazing that a freshman be the #2 time in the country in this very, very difficult race, a race that really needs a tremendous amount of strength and technique. You usually don't get that until you're a little bit older, but boy, this race is being run away with right now with Natasha Neal. Can she hold on?
Natasha Neal just blistering through the first 200 meters, yeah, and that's the question as she goes into the corner. And here come the Bruins now. Michelle Perry and Sheena Johnson. They're going to try to slingshot off the corner and catch her. Here comes Perry. Perry on the inside. Perry trying to run down Natasha Neal. Perry passes Neal. Sheena Johnson. Now a chance to get past Neal. Perry for UCLA. Michelle Perry and then Sheena Johnson holding off Natasha Neal. The Bruins go 1-2, and Neal able to get a single point for the women of Troy.
Unofficially 56.23, which matches her best time of the season, of course her personal best. But I've got to tell you, if the USC Natasha Neal had held it for second place, that would have been the ball game. And this event is so tough. I'll tell you, those 30-inch hurdles look a whole lot higher than that when they come off that turn. The bears jumping on their shoulders, those hurdles get real, real high. Nobody clipped a hurdle on the way over on the last set, the 10th set, but UCLA hanging on for a 1-2 finish. Would have liked to have swept it. Natasha Neal, #4 time in the conference, gets the 3rd place.
Michelle Perry runs a personal best, winning the women's 400, 56.23. Sheena Johnson is second at 56.88. Natasha Neal, the lone point for USC, 57.16, the final time for Natasha Neal. Checking the score on the men's side. Remember, USC hasn't beaten UCLA in 22 years, but right now, the men of Troy with a 51-44 advantage. That's after 10 events, as we now look ahead to the men's 400 hurdles. Take a look at your lane assignments. In lane 3, that'll be the inside. John Hall, whose mom, Connie, is a great quarter horse trainer down at Los Alamitos. He's a transfer from Long Beach City College. In lane 4, Russell Silvers, the junior for USC. Kyle Erickson, a sophomore for UCLA. Ryan Wilson, who already won the 110 highs earlier today for USC. John Barbieri in lane 7 from Carpinteria, the sophomore for UCLA. And J.R. Jackson, junior, USC in lane 8.
And in lane 5, Kyle Erickson, the sophomore, #1 time in the conference this year, provisionally qualified for the NCAA. Felix Sanchez of USC set the dual meet record here last year, or actually at UCLA last year, 49.48. Ryan Wilson's already run the high hurdles, the sophomore, in lane 6. Won the Pac-10s in the highs, has the #3 time in the conference in the intermediates. And John Hall down in lane 3, the senior, he's got the #4 time in the conference coming into this meet, also provisionally qualified for the NCAAs in Oregon in just a few weeks. So this should be a very interesting race.
I would think John Hall has the ability to steal this race, and he also has, of course, Ryan Wilson in front of him, so he gets to keep an eye on Wilson.
Hall really in a great position in lane 3, not too tight. He gets to see the race develop in front of him.
And Hall is watching Ryan Wilson move away from him right now. Kyle Erickson with the early lead for UCLA. Kyle Erickson just a sophomore.
Wilson having a little bit of step trouble on hurdles 2 and 4.
Now Wilson has Erickson in front of him. He can see him as he comes off this corner.
Hall bangs #7 pretty hard.
And it threw Hall off a little bit. You can see as he was wavering just a little bit. Here comes Wilson. Wilson coming up on Erickson. Is there enough time? Is there enough left? Oh! And Wilson is going to win this because Erickson takes a bad fall over the last hurdle. And Wilson holds up the USC victory sign. It also represents 2 victories for him today. And John Hall will finish second, but he's a dejected Bruin. Nobody feels worse than Kyle Erickson, who had a chance to win this race and just slammed the last hurdle.
I got to tell you, Jimmy, that's probably the ball game right there. It seems like every single break has gone to the Trojans, which normally never happens. Ron Allis has had almost no breaks. You see Kyle Erickson, that 10th hurdle, they're 36 inches high, but at this point in the race, they look a whole lot higher than that. You're getting tired, you're running out of momentum, you're running into a headwind. He just didn't have the confidence in his steps. He chopped, and he hits the hurdle on the way up, and Ryan Wilson right next to him almost steps on it. Watch how closely. This could have really been a disaster. But Wilson keeps his head about him. Erickson stays in his lane. But that is the ball game, folks. 23 years after they last won it, it looks as though USC is poised to break this streak, which has been a millstone around several Trojan coaches' necks.
You're right, and anybody who's been to more than one of these knows that, as you just said, the brakes always fall for the Bruins in this dual meet. At least that's the story on the USC side of things. Now that time, the brakes fell right along with Kyle Erickson. Ryan Wilson wins his second race of the day and locks up the meet on the men's side for the USC men.
You probably wouldn't know it by looking at me now, but I used to have a hair loss problem.
Whether you're just starting to thin or experiencing advanced hair loss, Hair Club has an option that's right for you. Call 1-800-HAIR-CLUB now for this free booklet.
So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and make the call, because after all, you can't hit a home run if you don't get up to bat.
If you'd like to get more hair, call 1-800-HAIR-CLUB today.
Everything's got to work like, it's a symphony, right? So the piston goes down, then it's going to come back up. That's the job of the piston. You got your valves, you're like little doors, you know. Sometimes you get deposits on your valves. It's not the valve's fault. It's the gas you're buying. If you used Chevron with Techron, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
No gasoline cleans better than Chevron with Techron.
No monkeying around now.
This month, Adelphia has it all. On HBO, Martin Lawrence's Living Large, Undercover, Big Mama's House. On Cinemax, Kevin Bacon's Life is Looking Up, The Air Up There. On Showtime, Samuel L. Jackson and Tommy Lee Jones expose a conspiracy, Rules of Engagement. And on the Movie Channel, Tommy Lee Jones and Ashley Judd discover a legal loophole, Double Jeopardy. For these movies and more, you've got to check out Adelphia.
It's vacation time. Time to get away from the crowds. An RV vacation for all of you, or just the two of you. An RV vacation for the whole family, or just the two of you. And guess what? It's a vacation you can rent. Call El Monte RV right now and get 2 free Coleman sleeping bags along with a dream vacation for the whole family, or just the two of you. Call 1-800-337-2157 today.
The Spirit of Troy, the USC marching band, and you know, this is their practice field too. This is where they work out their routines right here at Cromwell. If you walk around SC in the late afternoons, you can't help but notice them. Final results for the men's 400 intermediate hurdles. Ryan Wilson wins his second race of the day, 51:29. John Hall is second. John Barbieri is third for UCLA. Of course, Erickson fell at the end of that race. Women's standings now, after 16 events have been scored, UCLA has opened up an 8-point lead, 74-66. That's the women after 16 events. Moving on now to the women's 200 meters. Lane assignments. In lane 1, Ebony Grayson, junior for UCLA. Tiffany Bennett, freshman, USC, in lane 2. In lane 3, one of the stars of this meet, Shakita Jones, fresh off her upset of Angela Williams in the 100 meters. She's a senior. In lane 4, Kinsasha Davis, last year ran a 22:69 in this event, second fastest in the country. Adia McKinnon, the freshman from Illinois for UCLA in lane 5. Angela Williams, lane 6, the junior from USC. Is it payback time? We'll find out. Sonny Roseby, freshman, UCLA in 7. And Maya Edmondson, the freshman for USC in lane 8.
And like in the 100 meters, Shakita Jones in 1998 set the dual meet record between these schools, 22.84. She pulled the upset in the 100. Can she do the same thing in the 200? But the #1 time in the conference is by junior Kinshasa Davis of USC. She has a provisional NCAA qualifying time. Senior Shakita Jones just the #6 time in the conference, but she's certainly on her game today. And then the freshman in lane 5, Adia McKinnon, the #4 time in the conference this year. So again, a great race, one that'll have tremendous implications. If USC can score well here, it's really going to be close. McKinnon out of the race, I'm just being told by our statistician, Bruce Tennant. So that does not bode well for UCLA. USC needs to score as high as they possibly can in this race in order to keep this thing close. And it is very close at this point in time. We're still waiting for some field events to wrap themselves up. But this is a much closer meet than it appeared to be on paper as we came into the stadium today.
So McKinnon is out for UCLA. Christina Gampa for USC has been added in lane 1. Sasha Davis, of course, for those of you who haven't seen her run, she has an unorthodox style. I saw it, I witnessed it in high school when she ran in the California State Championship meet up in Sacramento. They had 15,000 people there that day, Dwight, and when she came off the corner, people almost laughed, but I don't think they were laughing at her style, they were laughing at the huge gap she had over the rest of the field, and a star was born that day. She was just a junior.
Sometimes the technique is not the best, and it usually gets itself worked out. Younger Miller was having problems when she was in school, pulling muscles all the time because her technique wasn't quite what it was, and now she's a world champion and an Olympic gold medalist, so you just never know. When they've got the basic speed there, you've at least got the tools to work with.
They don't ask how, they just ask how fast. Got those nice long legs and moves so well. Sasha Davis, second in NCAAs last year. This event ran the anchor on USC's national champion 4x4 relay team. At the Pac-10s last year was second in the 200, fourth in the 100. I think that 100 is a little short for her.
I'm wondering if Coach Jeanette Bolden is holding Adia McKinnon back for the 4x400 relay, thinking she really can't be as effective here as she'd like her to be, but maybe could be a more effective runner in the 4x400, even though on paper USC has a superior 4x400 relay. If it comes down to that, and that's the difference, the nod would have to go to USC.
Has a lot of strategy right now. 74-66 UCLA women. After 16 events, they need 8 points to clinch the meet. Sasha Davis, USC in lane 4 on the inside. Shakina Jones, a good start for UCLA. Look at Jones going by Davis.
Jones just blows it, but now look at Sasha Davis. It's like she woke up. And now it's going to be Jones and Davis, and the longer striding Davis seems to have the advantage.
Sasha Davis for USC, Shakina Jones, UCLA, and look at Sasha Davis, second in the NCAAs last year, first today in the UCLA dual meet.
I don't know what she was doing in the beginning of that race, but the first 50 meters, she just let Shakita Jones sort of go by her in the middle of the turn, and then she woke up, and in the matter of 100 meters, she just ate up all the ground that she had lost to Shakita Jones and then some. It certainly doesn't hurt to be the taller athlete with a longer stride and being able to have that kind of turnover, but Kinshasa Davis really took the measure of Shakita Jones on that. 3 points for the Bruins. They need 5 more.
Boy, Sasha Davis found herself down by about 5 meters, woke up and answered back. Final results from the 200 meters. Sasha Davis, 22.98. Shakita Jones, who won the 100, comes back with a second place here. Almost stole that race, and Angela Williams is third, 23.59. After 13 events now on the men's side, look how tight it is, 62-60 USC after UCLA goes 9-0 in the discus, so that tightens things up considerably. Men's 200 now, lane 2, Brandon Foster, the sophomore from Gardena for UCLA. Miguel Fletcher, the junior from USC. Mike Lipscomb, junior, UCLA. Andre Ammons, senior, USC. Brian Harrison, senior, UCLA. Devin Ward, junior, USC in lane 7.
And the legendary Clancy Edwards, 20.03 in a dual meet back in 1978. That's some impressive running at the world-class level at this point in time in the year 2001. Lane 5, Andre Ammons, he's got the number 3 time in the conference. He's a senior. He should win this race, but the number 4 and 6 times in the conference also in this race. Brian Harrison of UCLA out in lane 6. Devon Ward, the junior from USC, out in lane 7. USC expected to go 1-2 in this race. UCLA is going to have to stay tight with their field event people.
Andre Ammons in 5, Devin Ward in 7. Brian Harrison in lane 6 for UCLA. That's where this one should be decided. Harrison, a good start.
Marginal start for Andre Ammons. He's going to have to make it up in this straightaway. Mike Lipscomb moving nicely for UCLA.
Mike Lipscomb inside. Lipscomb, this would be a big upset. Mike Lipscomb. Will he hold on? He's going to do it.
It fell apart last year for the Trojans when McCullough strained a hamstring off of the turn. That is unexpected, and depending on what happens with the field events that we have not gotten final results for, this appears to be a little closer than we thought it was going to be.
Mike Lipscomb for UCLA coming in on the inside. You can see the gap there. Now, of course, our camera not on the finish line, so it's tough to judge exactly. That's Brian Harrison for UCLA on the outside.
Surprised at how poor a start that Andre Ammons got. It was not as bad as what Kinshasa Davis did, but he just seemed to be left in the blocks and sort of took competitors in the race a little bit for granted, even though there's only a few hundredths of a second that separate them in season best.
Now we expected Ammons, Harrison, and Ward to be right together at the finish line. They were, but Mike Lipscomb for UCLA was out in front. He steals the men's 200.
Let's do it.
These guys don't look so tough.
Heads up.
I got your back. Go, go, go. I'm hot, baby.
Time to go for a spin.
Gatorade, bring your game to life.
I'll take the big guy.
Which big guy?
If only your house could talk, what would it say?
A little house like me deserves a beautiful garden.
Even if you've never planted a seed before, come to Lowe's, because we have certified nursery specialists who will help you choose the perfect plant. And every plant we sell is guaranteed to last.
Just look at this garden. It's like I have a whole other room in the house.
Lowe's, improving home improvement.
Now through Memorial Day, spend $250 on your Lowe's card and get 6 months, no payments, no finance charges.
Did you know that scientists have discovered the hairless gene? If you have thinning hair, call 1-800-HAIR-CLUB now and get your copy of our latest report. You can read about exclusive interviews with doctors and scientists and learn about the different options that Hair Club has available today in the fight against hair loss. Hair Club is the one source for hair loss information.
Call 1-800-HAIR-CLUB now and get this booklet or CD-ROM free.
Now that I've got my hair back, I'm glad I made that call.
Call 1-800-HAIR-CLUB today.
The spicy chicken sandwich. Don't bother me. I'm eating. Only 99 cents at Carl's Jr.
68th dual meet between SC and UCLA, and it's coming right down to the wire just moments ago in the men's 5,000. UCLA's Will Bernaldo wins it in 14:57.91. Brian Green of UCLA was second, but this is the hero of the race, Justin Neems. He's not even in the USC media guide. He holds on for third, and that is the 82nd point for USC. And after 22 years of frustration, the USC men have beaten UCLA. Now the women's race is even tighter. After 18 scored events, 80-78 UCLA, and so that means the women's race comes down to the final race, the 4x400. It all comes down to this. The winner gets 5 points and the meet. The loser gets nothing. USC will open with Natasha Neal. Carla Estes runs second, Malika Edmondson third, and Brigitte Langerholtz is the anchor for UCLA. Adia McKinnon, Sheena Johnson, Usain Williams, and Michelle Perry is the anchor. And the winner wins the meet.
And the name you didn't hear in that roster for USC is Kinshasa Davis, who ran a brilliant 200, but they are not bringing her back in the relay. On paper, these teams are only 0.4 of a second apart in this race, and that is USC's team with Kinshasa Davis on it. So this is going to be close, and this is to break Jeanette Bolden's streak. She has never lost a dual meet while she's been a head coach at UCLA.
57-0, and they've beaten USC 8 years in a row on the women's side. It is a standing room only crowd, and that is literal right now because 3,000 people are on their feet. 3 hours of track comes down to this.
McKinnon for UCLA, the freshman, and Natasha Neal for USC. They will run the entire first leg in lanes, and then the second leg will run the first turn in lanes, and then they will break for the pole on the far side after completing the full turn one.
Natasha Neal for USC with a slight advantage over Adia McKinnon. McKinnon's a freshman. Neal's a junior. Natasha Neal will hand to Carla Estes, a senior. And it's Sheena Johnson, another freshman for UCLA, and the exchange is exact.
UCLA definitely got the advantage on that exchange, with Carla Estes not taking off like she should have. But again, the inexperience of the freshman will have to see against the savvy of the senior from USC, Carla Estes.
McKinnon's quarter, the opening leg, 53-24. Estes and Sheena Johnson. Sheena Johnson, the freshman for UCLA, out front. Estes about 6 meters back.
We saw Carla Estes run a brilliant open 400 meters using her strength, laying back and watching the younger UCLA runners. And now here she comes. She's gathering herself. The strength is coming out. She's starting to do the twist with her shoulders, but she's bringing USC back into this race. UCLA will only have a slight lead with 2 legs to run.
Can it get any better than this? SC and UCLA. We're going down to the final 2 legs.
Isan Williams from UCLA, and now making a move, Malika Edmondson. Now she's a sprinter. Oftentimes you'll see sprinters that feel so good the first half a lap, and then they pay for a move like that. We'll have to see what that move took out of her. She's already run both the 100 and the 200 as well as the sprint relay. And now here comes Williams back on her, who has the strength of a 400-meter hurdler.
Williams answers, and they go stride for stride with 150 meters left in the 3rd leg. Isan Williams, sophomore for UCLA, and Malika Edmondson, the senior. Her mom's the walk-on coach. Her little sister's on the team. And look at this run by Williams. Williams is going to hand this baton off with about a 12-meter advantage.
And Michelle Perry, the intermediate hurdler, against Brigitte Langerholtz, the 800-meter 4th placer from the Sydney Olympics. And look at that gap. That gap tripled in the last 10 meters before Perry took the stick. Langerholtz is certainly strong, but that is a lot of distance to make up.
Perry with a nice lead down the backstretch, and the USC crowd has grown quiet and concerned. Brigitte Langerholtz, a legend on campus. Her name is known throughout the world. She was 4th in Sydney. She's one of the favorites for Athens, but right now she'd give anything for 10 more meters. Langerholtz trying to reel Michelle Perry in. Everybody comes to the track on both sides. Fans on one side, athletes on the other. Langerholtz pulling in the slack. Perry trying to hold her on. SC and UCLA, it's coming down to this. Whoever wins the race wins the meet. Michelle Perry is going to hold her off. UCLA wins.
What a fitting way for this great rivalry to end on the women's side. On paper, almost 20 points separated them from season best. It comes down to the final event with only 4/10 separating them as they come into this race. And Brigitte Langerholtz overcomes a huge deficit that was given to her by Edmondson. What a great finish. This was unbelievable, the amount of room that Michelle Perry was able to put on Brigitte Langerholtz in the first part of that leg. But really, they were so close the entire way. Here is Isan Williams taking over on Malika Edmondson. They're stride for stride with 100 meters to go, and there wasn't that big a gap, but when they took the baton, Michelle Perry had a huge lead, but Brigitte Langerholtz, the veteran, the Olympic finalist in the 800, everything she had left, if she had not been handed such a huge deficit, this outcome could have been different.
I give both of those runners a lot of credit. Michelle Perry, nothing left at the end, completely gassed, tosses the baton, and into the waiting arms of a teammate as UCLA wins over USC for the 9th year in a row. Great effort by Brigitte Langerholtz to make that as close as it was. UCLA wins at 3:32.76, SC 3:33.17. We'll come back, one more race on the docket, the men's 4x4. We come back on campus at USC.
If you're between the ages of 40 and 85, call 1-800-334-9100 now. To find out more about the Silver Care Plan, the average funeral now costs over $6,000. But did you know your survivors may only be able to receive government death benefits of $255 if they qualify, leaving your loved ones to pay the balance? You must be age 40 to 85 to qualify. No physical examination is necessary, and coverage starts as soon as you're accepted. The Silver Care Plan is a way for you to help protect your loved ones at a time they'll need it most. To get free information about the Silver Care Plan and its benefits, call 1-800-334-9100. You have no obligation. Don't put it off. Call now.
Back at USC, and it's our final event on the schedule, the men's 4x4, and really it's inconsequential because the USC men because of Justin Neem's finish in the men's 1500, finishing third and getting a single point, but more importantly, the 82nd point. USC has already wrapped it up, but well, it's USC and it's UCLA, and so there's still bragging rights out on the track. DeJohn Joyner will run the opening leg for USC. Hand to Kevin Elliott, who's just had a super meet today. Andre Ammons runs third. Ryan Wilson is the anchor for the Trojans. For UCLA, Rodney Diggs leads off to Kyle Erickson, Danier Verscher, and Mike Lipscomb is the anchor for UCLA. Men's 4x4.
And Jim, by way of correction, it was Justin Neems in the 5,000 for USC
yes,
that
thank
gave
you.
him that one extra point. And on paper, this is a much different race. The USC Trojans have a 3.5-second better season time than do the UCLA Bruins, even though I think if this race were on the line, if the meet was on the line, we would see a very close race.
It's SC and UCLA, and in any sport, it never seems to matter, the records or the rankings.
You know, it's interesting that for all those years, the tradition, while Jim Bush was the coach at UCLA, the Bruins won the NCAA 4x400 title forever and ever and ever. And for it to come down to this and have them not be favored would have been a real change in the way things used to go in this duel. In fact, me getting second in the high jump in 1972 put our 4x4 on the track so that we could win that duel 75-7.
Kyle Erickson now, the second leg for UCLA, and Kevin Elliott for USC.
And Elliott has got to be the guy of the hour. I mean, Justin Neem's got his 1 point in the 5,000, and God bless him. But Kevin Elliott, as Coach Alice told me earlier in the week, said, watch this guy. I'm telling you, he's a gutty guy. He's all hard. He gets a second for them in the 1,500. He wins the 800, and here he is back out here again on the 4x4.
Yeah, he is a gutty guy. That's exactly what he's shown today. Right now, Elliott is far back.
And Erickson coming up to the place where he fell in the 400-meter intermediate hurdles, which could have made the difference in this meet.
Erickson was leading that race at the last hurdle and ended up on his face on the track. He hands off to Danier Verscher. Verscher starts into the corner with Andre Ammons behind him.
And you got to think that this race would be toe-to-toe, shoulder-to-shoulder if it meant the meet. Guys from USC, sort of not just that they're going through the motions, they certainly aren't, but they certainly are not running the kind of race that they're capable of. And if this were the situation and the meet was coming down to this, we would have a lot of yelling, screaming going on at this point.
Anchor for UCLA is Mike Lipscomb. He won a race already earlier today, the 200. And Ryan Wilson, who's won 2 races, both of the hurdles for USC, and look how tight it is now with 400 meters to go. Well, score or no score, this crowd is still on their feet, and they're all still here. Nobody's leaving.
Andre Ammons did a great job running the second half of that 400-meter split, putting USC right back into things. Now Wilson, a very strong 400-meter hurdler as well as a good high hurdler, has got the strength. Lipscomb, more of a pure sprinter. Should be interesting to see what happens this last 150 meters.
Looks like Wilson is just measuring him right now. Just biding his time and see if he slingshots off right here on the corner. Mike Lipscomb for UCLA, Ryan Wilson for USC, and Wilson's going to try to go on the inside. Lipscomb went wide, he opens the door. Here comes Wilson, shoulder to shoulder, 20 meters. Not going to get there. Mike Lipscomb holds him off.
And now it looks as close as it really was. 82-81, the Trojans will break that 23-year winless streak against the Bruins. But I'll tell you, about a half an hour, 45 minutes ago, it looked like it was going to be a runaway by USC. UCLA rallied in some field events, had a couple of changes of fortune in the intermediate hurdles in the 200, and this thing really got interesting.
USC and Ryan Wilson are gassed, but they're winners today. They lose this relay, but they beat UCLA for the first time in 22 years. The streak is over.
We test dehydration under extreme conditions. We test how the brain works when the body is fatigued. We test over and over in a real lab with real athletes with a very focused goal of improving athletic performance. It's called the Gatorade Sports Science Institute. You can look it up.
This?
It's cheese paper. And the paper goes around the burger with all the melted cheese on it.
The best cheese paper is at Carl's. Comes with a quarter-pound double cheeseburger. It's got 2 slices of cheese, so you can get like 8 corners.
And then you still get to eat the burger.
Carl's simple double cheese paper.
Cheeseburger.
The new double cheeseburger, 99 cents at Carl's Jr. More cheese on the burger, more cheese on the paper.
Now the USC Trojans celebrate for the first time in 22 years. The men beat UCLA 82-81. On the women's side, UCLA continues their streak of 9 years. And Jeanette Bolden's record of 58-0 in dual meets is saved 85-78 for Ron Allison, USC. It's a great day.
It really is. He's had a stronger team on paper the last couple of years and just had all the breaks go against him. This time he didn't think he had the kind of strength, but he had heart, and that's why they won it. And Jeanette Bolden, she really dodged a bullet this year.
All against the backdrop of the new stadium, the Catherine B. Locher Stadium on campus. The USC men win, the UCLA women win. So it's a split. That's going to do it for your statistician, Bruce Tennant. Rick Murphy, your producer, Ken Kirschbaum, your director. And, of course, for John Jackson and Dwight Stones, I'm Jim Watson saying so long from Cromwell Field. You've been watching Pac-10 College Track, the SC-UCLA dual meet on Fox Sports Net.
Southern California has a nightly sports report dedicated to hometown teams and hometown highlights. Your teams, your town, your show. The Southern California Sports Report, tonight at 10 on Fox Sports Net.
You're watching Fox Sports Net. The following program is a special presentation of Fox Sports Net. The Golden Gloves is about tradition.
But it was so incredible, the feeling, the jubilation.
Respect.
And character building. The Golden Gloves allow kids to interact with other kids, to travel, to be a part of something that is really special and very important to these kids.
Passion, power, and prestige.
What you must understand is that when a kid is involved with Golden Gloves, that is like the ultimate victory to win a Golden Gloves tournament.
For tomorrow's world champions, tonight is the golden opportunity to tell the boxing community, look out, world, here I come.
You bring home that trophy or that medal, words cannot describe the feeling. It's a sense of celebration. It's a special moment for any kid.
The Golden Gloves Championships, next on Fox Sports Net. This is your ringside seat for the best in boxing. Now, a special edition of Fight Time on Fox Sports Net. The Golden Gloves National Championships.
We come to you tonight from Reno, Nevada, where a whole lot of guys will try to make a big name for themselves in the biggest little city in the world. A lot of guys who want to win for a lot of reasons. Rasheem Jefferson has won before. He wants to be a two-time champion. Then there are the brothers Vargas from Toledo, Dallas and Devin. They want to be the first brother act to ever win championships in the same year. Then there's Lonnie Zaid. He says if he wins the super heavyweight championship, he'll turn pro. We welcome you to the City Pavilion Center here in Reno, Nevada. Barry Tompkins, along with my partner, Rich Murata. And Rich, we started out with 3,000 fighters in 30 regions. We're down to 24 tonight.
Right, it's been an amazing week here in Reno. Actually, there were more than 300 just at the beginning of the week, but these kids will have fought, the ones that are fighting tonight for the championship, 5 times in 1 week before finally having their arm raised with a championship. They'll compete in 12 weight divisions, different from the old days of 8, but still far less than the pros, who have, of course, 18 weight divisions today.
And, of course, this is amateur boxing, very different from what we see week in and week out on the Sunday night fights. With more on that, here's the third member of our broadcast team. He, of course, is the champ, Sean O'Grady.
Thanks, Barry. Here at the Golden Gloves, they pay careful attention to safety. Protecting these kids is paramount. So you'll see a lot of the things that are the same, such as a mouthpiece, a foul-proof protector of the trunks, but you'll notice some different equipment, such as the head guard. They protect from cuts and they discourage KOs. The larger gloves, the weight markings must connect to score, and the jerseys are over the bodies to protect the fighters, also easier identifiable to the judges. You know, there's no secret about it. You still got to hit your opponent. There's 3 things to remember tonight, Barry. If he hits you, hit him back. Don't forget to duck, and keep your trunks off the floor.
Thanks a lot, John. I guess it's kind of a metaphor for life, isn't it? Here are the Golden Glove rules. 5 judges.